Treasurer Jim Chalmers has strayed from a speech about economics last night to blast the opposition leader Peter Dutton as, quote, the most divisive leader of a major Australian party in Australia's modern history. Joining us live now, the Deputy Opposition Leader Sussan Ley. Sussan, your reaction to this? Good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Well, I would have liked to wake up and see headlines today about the Treasurer's proper economic plan for Australians to actually make us feel better than we have done since they came into government. Because I think if you look at where this Treasurer has taken this country, it's backwards, which is why we have to vote Labor out at the next election. But to be honest, Pete, I feel a bit sorry for Jim Chalmers. He spent his whole life planning and plotting in Labor's factional queue, only to come up with this sort of stuff. He said he'd remake capitalism. He's made Australians poorer. He's got a PhD in politics, not economics, and that's on full display today. But we're doing the hard work. Australians need us to get this right. We're doing the hard work for them because as we travel the country, now that Parliament has risen, we're seeing a lot of pain out there. Yeah. And that pain makes me angry and makes me determined. These sort of silly political headlines, I just dismiss.
Right, okay. So sorry to interrupt, but just on that point, I mean, you know, it's fairly strong language and strayed from an economic speech. What do you put that down to? I mean, do you feel like this is a line that will be used now in an upcoming election campaign to, you know, to paint Peter Dutton as divisive?
Look, I think Jim Chalmers is trying to talk tough to his Labor colleagues. That's what I think he's actually doing. It's ridiculous to suggest what he's doing in the face of the evidence, Pete, because Peter Dutton has got the big calls right. Is Jim Chalmers suggesting it's... I mean, I'll tell him what divisive is, to unleash the voice, spend $500 million and then say that if you vote no, you're a bad person. That's divisive. To let out hardened criminals on the street and then refuse to admit that you got it wrong. Peter Dutton got that right by saying you need to find ways to lock these people up. That's certainly been divisive from this government. And telling small business, you know, here's a bunch of industrial relations changes and you've just got to pay for them. I think that's pretty divisive. So, no, clearly I reject what is said, but more importantly, I feel that sense of frustration that Australians will feel reading this from their Treasurer. Where's his proper economic plan for them?
Okay. Let's get to your economic plan, because there's some details about that this morning in the form of about $100 billion that you've found that you will use by cutting Labor policies. Aside from that, can you confirm that you'll fund promised tax cuts for aspirational voters using money raised from scrapping those Labor policies?
Well, Pete, you'll see our plan, you'll see our funding, you'll see our announcements in due course.
It's in the paper this morning, so can you confirm that?
I'm not getting ahead of my colleagues, but I want to draw everyone's attention to one clear message, which is that unless you grow the economy faster than government spending, we will still have this country in a productivity slump. Now, that is the key thing. Of course, we're going through the work. Of course, we're identifying areas of wasteful spending, including off-budget spending that is pushing up interest rates. In my own area, in the National Reconstruction Fund, there's a massive amount of spending, not $1, billions of dollars the government has allocated an off-budget fund, $15 billion. At this point in time, Pete, not $1 has gone to struggling manufacturers across this country. But $8 million has been spent on just sort of setting it up, and there was another $18 million in the last budget to sort of do the admin and behind the scenes.
But just on stage 3 tax cuts,
doing the work.
You always mentioned that, you know, you were always going to have an eye on those who missed out or at least had some of those tax cuts taken from them. You were going to restore that. So can you at least confirm that that is going to go ahead?
Pete, you'll see our full economic plan and it will include our tax policy in due course.
So, I mean, that's not a no. That's going to go ahead, but how are you going to do it? What form would that take?
Pete, if you're referring to the commentary in today's paper, what that is focusing on is on me and all of my colleagues doing the hard work to identify wasteful spending. So this government is growing spending faster than the economy. They're spending on public service fat cats. They're spending on things that don't deliver productivity for this country. We would do it better, and we'll show Australians how we would do it better.
Okay.
It's not just about the dollars, important though they are, it's about how you design policy that grows this nation. I've just come back from the Northern Territory. This is an entire territory of Australia anti-development. So it's not allowing the natural enterprise to get ahead. So it's not about just putting money on the table and working out where it goes. In the Northern Territory, mining, agriculture, tourism, all of these industries are falling behind because they've got a government backed by a government in Canberra that is anti-development and anti-Australians getting ahead.
Okay.